Welcome back to another, podcast that we are putting on. My name is Jason Wood, and along with Lee Maddox and Michael Maddox, we are partners in a nationwide brokerage company. When you are talking to a seller about selling their practice, what is one of the things that they are concerned about?
Yeah, so when a seller's selling their practice, it's a big decision and that's their baby. So they're really worried about confidentiality. So what does that mean? It means let's just back up. When we get their financial information, we make sure we get rid of all the sensitive information. We redact everything out and get rid of the original copy. And secondly, when we have a buyer inquire about the practice, we have them sign 2 NDAs. So the first one's a general NDA between us and that certain buyer. And after they sign that, we'll send them just a general practice summary on the practice, where it's located, how many ops, staff information without the names. And then we try to get on a call and see if it's actually a good fit for them. If it ends up being a good fit, the next question is, can I see the financials? And we say, absolutely, but first you need to sign this second NDA. We call it a specific NDA.
You make them do 2 NDAs?
Yeah, 2 NDAs, and the buyer will sign it and the seller. So basically what that is, if they get that information and for some reason it gets out, now the seller can also, go after that buyer for leaking their financials or anything sensitive to the practice.
So the first NDA is between you and the buyer?
Correct. Yeah. And
Okay.
Lee can expand a little bit on why we do that from his past experience at Henry Schein.
Yeah, we really want to maximize the confidentiality. So we're going to give a little bit of information that we can give without compromising the practice. And so I'm going to give that information to the buyer. If the buyer breaches it, then it's my liability I'm not my liability, but I can go after the buyer and pursue them for breaching the confidentiality. But if
you mean if they use that information to somehow find the seller?
Or if they start telling other people and it compromises the confidentiality that the practice is for sale.
Got it.
So what we want to do is make sure that they understand that we take confidentiality seriously, and it's important to the seller, it's important to us, and we want to make sure you understand that you're signing an agreement with us that you're going to keep it confidential, and then if you want more information and the seller's okay with you, and is going to agree to it, then you're going to sign a confidentiality with the seller. That's when they're going to give you Dropbox information. You're going to see tax returns and information. So now there's protection for the seller because they've signed the confidentiality twice. So they're legally obligated to me to keep confidentiality, and they're legally obligated to the seller to keep the confidentiality. What we don't want is somebody going to a study club meeting or a dental society meeting and saying, oh, I saw this office down the street, and then it gets back to the staff and the patients that the practice is for sale. So I think the second NDA really weeds people out that are just kind of looky-loos. Like, we actually ran into a seller's wife who said, oh yeah, we went out and looked like 20 practices so we could figure out how they were running it so we could do a better job managing our practice. Well, we don't want that. We don't want someone wasting our time or the seller's time. We also don't want the seller's confidentiality to be compromised. We don't put pictures, up so they can identify the property, and so, there's the NDA, the 2 NDA thing is just the first step, and then confidentiality. And then we take other steps when we're showing the practice. So why don't you go over that, what we do to try to keep the confidentiality on that stage?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, so we want you guys to sign 2 NDAs so we know that you're serious and you're going to keep this quiet and not hurt the seller's reputation in any way, shape, or form. And then secondly, if we're showing you the practice, initially, if the seller's okay with it, we'll show you the schedule, but that's it. We're not going to let you look through files or reports just yet. We want to make sure you're interested in the practice and you could see yourself there. And, you could take a video, you could take some pictures, but nothing with patient names, right?
But we never go to the practice during operating hours.
Right.
We always go after hours or on the weekends. We're very careful to knock on doors and try to do things that, doesn't make it known that we are in the office, right? So if we are on the computer, we delete all files that we opened. If we're in the office, we move a chair, we put the chairs back. You know, we don't always do it, but sometimes because we have pictures of what things we're at when we come in. For example, we will do due diligence and they'll have an equipment inspection. So if they come in and they move all the chairs, the staff will know. If the chairs are all up and now they're all down, these are things that, that they come in and say, well, that's weird. The cleaning people never do that. So there's a lot of little things that go into confidentiality, not only from the beginning, making sure the buyer understands the importance of it, our team understands the importance of it, and it's just part of the process every single step. So we redact the information, we make confidentiality agreements get signed by both with us and with the doctor. We don't go during office hours unless we're told the sellers inform the staff. Even then, we generally don't go during office hours because it's disruptive. And we're very careful when we go in the office to leave it the same way it was. So it's always something. Now, some of the things that can cause a problem for us with confidentiality, and I know as an attorney you worry about this as well, we generally don't let buyers, fill out insurance forms until after the deals close, because the insurance companies will publish that, this office is now a PPO provider, or they'll send information to the office. Sometimes the information gets breached because they set up a new bank account, or because they
file their corporation.
And they don't put their home address. So they're setting up vendor relationships. And while these are all prudent things to do, we have to try to counsel the buyer, hey, you signed a non-disclosure, and until this transaction's been completed, you need to do everything in your power to make sure that you keep this confidential. And it's very hard to keep it confidential the entire time. And we can't promise sellers that it's going to be confidential the entire time, but we'll do everything in our power to control it. We can't control state of California. We can't control the Bank of Americas and Provide and U.S. banks of the world if they reach out. But we have a pretty good track record of keeping it confidential. And I think that's what the sellers want to see, that we're taking the extra steps, even though it could get breached. And when it does, then it's a 5-alarm fire. Then we're having the seller having to call a meeting, let the staff know. And we only hope that if that happens, we're far enough along in the process that we're going to get the transaction completed in a timely basis. And that's only happened a couple of times, but it can happen.
I work with dozens of brokers throughout the United States, and when we joined forces, I thought you guys were crazy to do 2 NDAs. I was like, no one does this. This is crazy. But it makes total sense. I mean, other brokers, they'll do 1, and that's it. But it makes sense from an operations standpoint. Like you said before, it weeds out the looky-loos, which is hugely beneficial for sellers, especially in hot markets where we need to move quickly. We want buyers to move quickly so that the highest price is going to the seller as quickly as possible. Worst thing you can do is be saddled with a looky-loo for 30 to 45 days, and then they just pull out for no particular reason. But how you guys focus on confidentiality, I have not seen that before in any other brokerage. I mean, when I'm representing sellers, and other brokers are representing them, the lack of confidentiality sometimes is just astounding. Yeah. So I love this process, but I love the fact that not only are we spending more time protecting and ensuring the information, which, in today's day and age, it's like your Social Security. Oh, remember when we were growing up, you need to keep this at all times. You need to protect it, and people are going to they're going to jump out of vans and try to steal this from you. I mean, that's how important it was, to where we give our Social Security to everything now. But how far we go to protect this information, it's amazing to me. But then it also has the secondary issue of making sure that only the most important focused buyers are even looking at the data. I love that. If you have any other questions, feel free to click the link below, and hopefully we can assist you in that process.